One of the toughest things to decide is what to talk about. And then, once I've decided, it's hard to figure out what to talk about when. So I actually called an audible with my high holiday team and switched my topics because originally I had the idea that this would be an introduction to Yizkor tomorrow. But instead, I've decided to share a few words about Israel tomorrow and to talk about Yizkor tonight. I tell you that mostly because I'm going to talk about Yizkor and we're not going to do it. And so I want you to know what's going to happen. But either way, it is, Yizkor as a prayer service is, for many people, the moment of prayer. Tomorrow, when it comes time for this service, we will have more people in this space. Well, actually, more people than the fire marshal allows. But also more people than we have at any other moment throughout the year. We understand that we love someone so much that we want to show up for them. And in our Yizkor service, we have an English reading that always catches me off guard. I don't know where this reading comes from. It predates my time here. It's been in the book, I assume, since Moses brought our Yizkor book down with the tablets. But it has this phrase, this sentence. It says, when we take on the habits and traditions of the Jewish people, an eternal people, we take on an aspect of eternity. That phrase always surprises me because it highlights a truth that Yizkor uncovers, one that we most of our days try to ignore, push aside, pretend isn't true, and that is we are all, every one of us, going to die. This thing we call life comes to an end. We are mortal. So it struck me as interesting that the prayer before the service, remembering those who've passed, imagines that we can take on a sliver of immortality, a sliver of forever. And as I was thinking, I think that our tradition lays out three different pathways, three tools that make us at least a little bit live forever. The first is a little self-serving. Okay, it's a lot self-serving. The first is to do Jewish. There is something absurd about services. The point is to come here and unlock our deepest selves, pour out our hearts before the Creator of all, and let our deepest feelings out so that we might face them and challenge ourselves to a better year. And we do that by making sure we're all on page 292. I'm going to blow your mind, but never once has being on page 292 been the thing that opened our hearts and let our souls pour forth. So what is it that we are doing? Why do we get dressed up? Why do we fill the pews and sit in the exact same seats? And make sure we stand when I say stand and sit when I say sit and open the ark at the right time and then close it if those are not the things that get us where we need to go. It is because those are the things that give us a taste of eternity. Because we're not the only ones on page 292. I don't know what's on page 292, by the way. Maybe it's important. Thank you. Someone checked. I appreciate it. I thought someone would wait till the end, but I'll take it. No problem. Elaine is a great prayer, too. Because not only is everyone in this room on page 292, but Jews all over the world are saying the words of that prayer. Because not only are Jews all over the world, but Jews for thousands of years are saying that prayer, saying those words. And yes, they tweak and they grow, but essentially, when we rise at the same time and open the ark at the same time, when we sit in our pews, when we do this thing we call Judaism, each time we step into something larger than ourselves. Each time we come to the bima for our bar mitzvah, each time we stand under a chuppah, each time we recite the kiddush or light a havdalah candle, we're not just doing that one thing. We are participating in a culture, a tradition, a connection to the creator of all of existence that is bigger than you, bigger than me, bigger than us, that is eternal. If you want to live forever, make sure you're on the right page. Make sure that when you look at your day, at your time scheduled, you ask ourselves, what am I doing? That you do something Jewish. The next secret to immortality began for me in an advice column I like to read. For me, it's like watching The Bachelor. It's hilarious most of the time. I try and guess who's going to get yelled at. My favorite are the ones where someone says, tell me how I can make my spouse understand that I'm right. And then the answer is, you're wrong. But I've noticed a trend, I might even say an epidemic, of children cutting their parents out of their lives. Comment after comment of children who want to live their life, whose parents won't stop interfering, won't stop telling them that they're doing it wrong, give them no space to be themselves. And herein lies the next secret. If you want to live forever, you likely have this intense desire to make sure the next generation, they could be your actual children, they could be your friends' kids, they could be your students, your neighbors. You'll want to need to make sure the next generation does life the way you do, carries on your ideas. And here's the trick. If you want to live forever, stop. Don't try. The prophet Micah, one of my favorite prophets, the prophet Micah imagines utopia, imagines perfection, messianic redemption and salvation, and he describes it in this way. Micah says, everything will be perfect when each person lives under their own fig leaf, in their own way, with all that they need. When God wants to create the world, the Kabbalists tell us that God has a problem. God is God. God wants to make space for us, clumsy, mistake-ridden, difficult, complicated, changing, growing people, and God is perfect. If God fills all of existence, there is no room for us to grow and become ourselves. So the Kabbalists tell us that God does an act of tzimtzum, that God contracts God's self to make room for us to be ourselves. God creates life. God joins us in eternity by retracting God's self and making room for each of us. The second path to live forever is to not try to, is to make space for others to live. The third trick is something each of you who comes to Yizkor already know, but I want to put the finest point possible on it. The third trick to live forever is to help your loved ones live forever, is to remember those who have passed, is to spend your time, your energy, your resources sharing their story, living their values, making sure other people know that you do X because grandma did X. That you make sure to give to this charity because your great uncle loved it so much. The rabbis tell us that when you act in the name of another, when you do things in their own way, when you pull them into this world, it's like you reach to the next world. You grab a piece of their soul and you pull it into this world and they live again. Because it would be enough if we just did that. But if you want to live forever, when you show your loved ones how you remember others, perhaps we are lucky that one day, many, many, many years in the future, our loved ones will stand here and remember us. We'll know that what it means to be alive today is to remember those on whose memory, on whose legacy we stand. We are all going to die. It is a truth we hide from. It's too big to bear every day of our lives. But in this room on this day, we remember how fragile we are, and we try and hold on to a sliver of eternity. We throw ourselves into our history, our religion, our practice, our tradition. We make space for others to live under their own fig leaf. And we spend our time, our energy, our might remembering. This Yom Kippur, I wish each of us a sliver of forever. Shana Tova.